Hey guys, so finally I've got the opportunity to record for you a bit of a vlog, a bit of a brief explanation of how I've gone so far with my abdominal separation. The last 7 days have been a little bit testing with Chase. He hasn't really been sleeping in the day at all, but today, fingers crossed, he's just gone down for a nap, so I'm going to take the opportunity and tell you a little bit more about it. So 2 weeks ago now, when I was 5 weeks post-pregnancy or postpartum, I went and saw a physio who was recommended to me by another friend who's pregnant as well. Her name is Mary Teague, so I'll make sure I put the link up on my Instagram and my Facebook page to her Facebook page. She's local in Adelaide, and she's really, really lovely, specialising in women's health, so I definitely would recommend her to anyone who, even if you're still pregnant or post-baby, even if you had a baby 2 years ago, she's fantastic and knows everything about your abdominals and, more importantly, your pelvic floor, and will be able to help you, I guess, rehab your stomach back to a nice, strong, healthy stomach. So she's definitely the person to see, and I'm really glad that I went to see her. So when I saw Mary, I was going just to find out a little bit more about myself, but also to learn for my clients. So I really am blessed that I've been through this whole pregnancy journey. I really do think of it like a journey because it's helping me to better myself and also better my skills and my knowledge to further help you. So to be able to help my female clients who have had babies or are thinking about having babies in the future. Really, there's so much that you can learn about your pelvic floor and about your abdominal muscles, about your health and your fitness that will help you before and after your baby. So winding back to when I was in hospital, I only spent a day and a half in hospital, which is another story in itself. But yeah, I wasn't there very long, and the midwives there did have a feel of my stomach muscles for me and showed me how to check for it, which I sort of knew, but they clarified it for me. And at the time in hospital, I had about a 2 centimetre gap in my abdominals above my belly button. So basically that's 2-finger gap up there in your abdominals. Over time, so I went and saw Mary at 5 weeks, and I could already feel that it felt a bit smaller, and I hadn't done anything to make that happen. That was just sort of, I guess, time and moving around in general. It had already shrunk. So Mary assessed me by feeling my ab gap, which I'm going to make another video and show you how to actually feel and check for that gap. But she had a feel, and above my belly button I have a 1 centimetre gap now, which is really fantastic that it's, you know, almost halved on its own. And below my belly button I have no gap at all, so you can feel that my abs are already right back together underneath, which is really lucky. When I say lucky, to be honest, I think it is a lot to do with how you look after your body. Although I wasn't necessarily really educated on pelvic floor and post-pregnancy things when I was pregnant, I stayed very active. I, have remained healthy. I've been walking and, doing what I could, listening to my body, which definitely is 80% of it. So you're going to recover a lot better when you look after your body during pregnancy afterwards. So also Mary did a check on my pelvic floor, which, sorry boys, don't listen, but it's actually an internal check. So yeah, all sorts of ways, but no, an internal check. She had a feel of my pelvic floor, which she just said was weak, but that is normal. So yes, it's very weak. Yes, I need to strengthen it, and that is really important. But the fact that it is weak is completely normal. So I'm definitely, in a really good position right now, and will be able to strengthen it and return back to all of my normal exercises. So how do you know that you have a weak pelvic floor? So there's some signs of having a weak pelvic floor. Maybe you might pee yourself a little bit during the day, or perhaps when you're running on jumping you might feel a bit of liquid wee come out. That's one way, and a really obvious way, that your pelvic floor is weak. Other ways would be if you are feeling any kind of weird heaviness below. So Mary asked me lots of questions and said, had I felt any weird heaviness down there, or had I been doing anything and felt weird pains, or the main word she said was heaviness. What she's looking for and what we're trying to avoid with all this pelvic floor stuff is to avoid prolapse. Prolapse is not very nice. Basically, it's when your insides, your organs, fall forward because there's no strong abdominal walls actually holding everything together. So it's really important not to be rushing back to exercise after a baby. C-section is a little bit different, but same thing, you want to be really careful not to rush. Because if those abdominal walls aren't strong, they're holding everything in, and you do something heavy or intense like jumping or running or heavy squats or anything really that's pushing yourself, which is exercise, you may be at risk of prolapsing, which nobody wants. And if you were to prolapse, it is really hard to bring it back together and much harder to rehab your stomach muscles afterwards. Some people even have to have operations to actually strengthen that back up again, which we don't obviously want to have happen. So my rehab, being that I only have a 1 centimetre gap, is fairly simple for my abdominals at the top. To be honest, bringing them back together is more cosmetic, because having 1 centimetre gap is completely fine. If they were to stay with like that, it wouldn't matter. But for the sake of learning about my own body, for others, I'll be trying to reduce that gap. So I have a few exercises I'm going to be doing for that. Below, for pelvic floor, again, there are exercises I need to be doing. Mary said to do a certain exercise 2 times a day, 10 reps holding for 5 seconds each. I have to be honest and admit to you that it's been 2.5 weeks or 2 weeks since I saw Mary, and I actually haven't done them a lot of times. I can sympathise with other mothers that it is really difficult when you have a baby, and I can't imagine if you had more than one baby how much more difficult it would be, but having that time for yourself can be tricky, let alone, I'm not going to make an excuse, and now that I've recorded this, I'm going to make it an effort to do my exercises. I've done them a couple of times, maybe 3 times, but since I'm supposed to do them twice a day, that's not enough. So I will start practicing my exercises, and I will be filming them for you as well to show you. The pelvic floor won't strengthen by itself unless you do the exercises, so it's really important. And considering mine is weak but okay at the moment, I want to make sure that I get that strong and rehab it, I was going to say, as soon as possible. So I promise to be good and do my exercises and film them for you. Other things that you need to know about with pelvic floor is that you could actually have a pelvic floor that's too tight. So sometimes being pregnant and being really active, or perhaps just sometimes people naturally have a really tight, strong pelvic floor, that can actually be worse. So giving birth with a really tight pelvic floor means you could get really bad straining. Maybe it will make it harder for you also to labour naturally. There's going to be all sorts of complications with your pelvic floor if it's too tight, as well if it's too weak. So both problems need to be addressed. Honestly, go and see a women's specialist, a physio, during your pregnancy. If I'd known what I know now, I would have seen one before as well to find out all those facts while being pregnant. But yeah, definitely go and see someone if you're pregnant. Get the advice before you have your baby, and then also go back and see them afterwards. So I think a good time is probably about a month, maybe 6 weeks after. They say most people wouldn't exercise between 6 and 8 until 6 to 8 weeks after a baby anyway. With myself, I've been told I can go back and be active and go back to the gym, which is really exciting. You've seen I've done a couple of small workouts. I'll tell you a little bit more about what I can and can't do when I video my exercises for you. But for now, it's just a bit of an insight. I've had a lot of questions, so after watching this, please fire more questions at me. And if I don't know the answer, I'm going to do my best to learn it and to find out, because I really want to become the guru on pregnancy and post-pregnancy and learn as much as I can. Without being a physio or a doctor, I think I'd like to, be able to educate my clients as much as possible. So ask away. I'm going to go back and see Mary in about a fortnight when I think I've improved. So obviously I've got to do my exercises to do that. And also learn a bit more about my own recovery, and any more questions I have, I can ask her then as well. So please fire away, and thanks for listening. Enjoy continuing to watch my journey. I'll keep it real, and yeah, keep telling you what I learn. Have a great day.